Hey, the Twins beat the Royals to break their losing streak with Byron Buxton hitting a historic-ish dinger. But the bigger story of the weekend at Kauffman Stadium was Buck and Joe Ryan, that is, getting fed up with the Twins' recent direction from above. Strap yourself in for a good one by getting Locked On Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to source for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. It's not Viking season yet. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Imperial Locked On Podcast Network, which, by the way, brings you your team every day. Don't forget, hit like and subscribe where applicable. I'm Dave Brown, an MLB writer who never bucks upper management because I'm just an ordinary Joe. I'm also a BBWA member and a voter for baseball's Hall of Fame. I worded it differently this time. It sounds better.
Hey.
Across the great plains of cyberspace is Brandon Warne, who will always toe the line, but he'll also kick you in the pants if you cross him. Brandon was a Twins fan who became a Twins writer, and now he's both. You can find Brandon's written work at the Access Twins newsletter, and you can find mine at Pitcher List and actually the St. Paul Pioneer Press over the weekend covering the Twins and Royals. So pick up a paper on Monday or hit subscribe and like or whatever. On this podcast, pardon me, Byron Buxton is bracing himself for another rebuild, and it better not take longer than this coming off season because it will make him mad and unhappy or something like that. He's a Twin, and he's here to win. Joe Ryan has finally blown his stack, kind of, for Joe, calling the non-resigning of Sonny Gray the biggest mistake the Twins have made since he got to Minnesota. Not having Gray cost the Twins a playoff spot in 2024, Joe says, after Ryan got hurt, and might have done likewise in 2025 when Pablo Lopez got hurt. I mean, if we've seen the way the Twins are playing this year, it was more than that. But last year, maybe he had a point. It's getting a little frosty inside of the Twin Cities. We'll tell you all about it, but more. But first, this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Hold on, I got to hit cough. Kauffman Stadium.
How pertinent after spending your whole weekend there.
I did spend my whole weekend at Kauffman Stadium. One of the great things about living in the Kansas City area is if someone from a newspaper lets you, you can cover the Twins when they're in town, and I did for the Pioneers.
I had a very good stringing opportunity one time from the Boston Herald. I don't know if I've ever told you that.
Does it have anything to do with baseball?
Yes, Kevin Youkilis. So I'll just very quickly tell the story, but he got traded from the Red Sox in the middle of a game. Like he slid into third on a triple. They took him out of the game, and he joined the White Sox. And the White Sox were in Minnesota, and he didn't talk to the media. So the media is like, well, who do we want in Minnesota to go talk to him? And somebody at the Star Tribune gave him my name. And so I'm in the middle of working at that menial UPS store job that I was at, and I get a call from a number I don't recognize, and I don't make a habit of answering those. And it was the sports editor at the time. I don't know who.
617 area code?
Yes, exactly. Yep. And so I was like, wow. And I managed to finagle my way out of going to work the rest of my day and headed down to the ballpark. And Uke comes in carrying his Red Sox bag. And so we talked to him and I write a story. And then after the game, he's like, geez, you guys are a lot nicer than the Red Sox media. It was pretty funny. Like he seemed just relieved. I don't know that he was, I think things got a little choppy between him and the Red Sox late. I think that was when they were in their weird period. It might not have been Bobby Valentine with chicken and beer, but it was still not great in Boston. And so,
yeah, it was not Dave Dombrowski, but Dan, who's the other guy?
Not Dan Duquette, was it?
Yeah, Dan Duquette. Yeah, I think maybe his era, but yeah. Well, and that story, that's pretty much how I got the job for 3 days to cover the Twins for the Pioneer Press. Not exactly, but yeah. So I was down there at Kauffman Stadium, and it didn't start out well, the series. It ended with a Twins win. They stopped their losing streak, but the big story is actually broken by Phil Miller of the Minnesota Star Tribune. He was just talking with Joe Ryan about, don't you miss this guy for the deadline and that guy, and who do you miss and who do you keep in contact with? And Joe Ryan just kind of volunteered that, I miss Sonny Gray. And I put blame on the Twins upper management for not re-signing him because it cost the Twins a playoff spot last year and certainly didn't help this year. Ryan got hurt toward the end of August, or toward the beginning of August last year, toward the end of the season. Yep. The Twins didn't go to the playoffs. If they had Sonny Gray in the rotation, they wouldn't have lost Ryan. I mean, it's speculative, but he's mad. I mean, he's carrying this around, and he called out the Twins he said it was the biggest mistake that they've made since he got to the organization, not re-signing Sonny Gray. It would have cost $75 million over 3 years. That might have, this year with all the things that went wrong, maybe that doesn't look great on the ledger. But, would it have been worth it to go back to the playoffs in 2024? Ryan's like, well, maybe, it makes it easier for the Pohlads to sell the team if things are going better in the short run. So, I don't know if Joe is technically right, but he certainly has a right to those feelings. And, a lot of Twins fans, if not about Sonny Gray himself, agree that more money could have been spent on the team in the past couple of years. They cut payroll instead of adding. And he was, speaking what the fans have been saying a lot in the past couple of years.
Yeah, basically a Sonny Gray sized hole in the payroll in the meantime. I mean, it lines up. And I think Joe carrying that along with him shows what kind of competitor and what kind of fire he has. He's not as young as people think. And so we'll talk about Byron Buxton too, who's obviously a few years older besides, but these guys are there to win and they want to feel like ownership has their back. And, it sounded like he had it pretty well thought out. Like he'd been thinking about this for a while, because even if he says, I know I was hurt, maybe circumstances are different and he gets back in time for the playoffs, or maybe circumstances are different and the Twins don't have the collapse down the stretch and go into this year in a better mind space. Like there are a lot of choose your own adventure pathways that, how much hangover was there going into the season? You come out of spring training having what you expect to be pretty good vibes, but then Sonny Gray's Cardinals kicked their teeth in to start the season. And, they finally got it going for that winning streak, and now they're on the verge of being the worst team in the last 125 years to win 13-plus games in a row in a season and then finish still under 500. It's only happened, I think, 5 times since 1900. So it sounded to me like Joe had really thought it through. And he even had the contingency of, listen, if we had won last year and the Pohlads decided they wanted to sell, and I don't know how congruent those two statements are, he's not just blowing off steam. He's well thought out. Like if they wanted to unload this team, they didn't need to gut it. Like they didn't really think it through. You gut something and then you try sell it. Like there's a reason why newspapers, get gutted after. And so, it wasn't, very, very poor business sense. And take that from me, $1,000-aire, not a billionaire. That you look at the missteps over the last 22 months, and you just can't help but shake your head.
Yeah, it's funny that you use that word, missteps, because when we talk about Buxton, probably the next segment, he used the word. He sort of pivoted off the word mistake that Ryan said, and I don't want to spoil that second segment, but Ryan, to keep everything in a context too, you said that you thought Ryan's complaint, or whatever you call it, was well thought out, and he's been carrying this around for a while. Like I said, Phil Miller got the initial comments. I went back and I asked him, Joe, why say this now? And he's like, there was really no special reason other than I was asked about it. I was asked, like I said, what do you think about how you lost some friends at the trade deadline, and do you still keep in touch, and players who aren't here anymore, and what are the consequences of that, emotionally? And that's what came to mind for him, not having Gray, and the very, tangible accusation that not having him cost them not just goodwill or whatever, but actual wins and losses and a chance to go to the playoffs for 2 years in a row, which would have been a big thing for the city, Joe said. So, and it's he's been holding on to this for almost 2 years at this point.
Maybe this is a good transition too into our next segment, but Sonny Gray wanted to stay. That, oh boy, that shoots some arrows into some narratives that some of the haters have had. So I don't know if you want to.
People have a collective amnesia about that, I think, because I remember this story about how before even it was final that he hadn't left, that he wanted to stay. So that was not up to, it was up to whoever you want to blame.
They haven't managed him much different in St. Louis either, to be candid. So whether it's Ollie Marmol or, whoever he's played for. So I don't know if you want to unpack that at all, but I just thought that too. For all the people who have said Sonny couldn't get out of here fast enough, watch what you say.
I think most evidence to the contrary, but we'll take a break, talk about what Byron Buxton said on its own and as it relates to Joe Ryan, and we'll be back to Locked On Twins.
Well, if you're like me, you wish that managing your money felt easier. At least I did before Monarch Money, because with Monarch Money, it can feel easier. Whether you are growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app, though. It is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you are also building wealth. I just like the concept of knowing I have a net worth. Now, I'm not going to tell it to you because that would be embarrassing. Actually, I'm just kidding. But it was just kind of cool to see all the different things that I had a pretty good idea were going on in my finances, but to get some clarity, hey, maybe you should take out some stock in DoorDash or something like that. No, it does have some good accountability for, where are you spending maybe more money than you should? Where should you be diverting some of your money and all that sort of thing? Or if you're just trying to get serious about buying a car or a house or that fourth printer, you need Monarch Money to help you stay on task. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com, and they'll give you 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Locked On Twins has returned for our second segment.
I knew that printer bit would get you.
I laugh every time at the printer bit, for sure.
I have a new one. I have a Roomba on every floor of my house. That's my new joke.
I have a rumba and a samba. We just dance and play music. And
my sister did a dance to "Feeling Hot, Hot, Hot" when she was like 10, and rum bum bum bum. It's like that was the most fun part of the song.
So in our first segment, we talked about Joe Ryan airing his grievance with the Twins for not re-signing Sonny Gray 2 years ago. So that was you can trace back not all the Twins' problems, but that was kind of like the original deal going into 2024. He said, it wasn't like we missed him. We didn't go into 24 in like a sour frame of mind or anything. It's just a matter of Sonny Gray's a guy who has made 56 starts the last 2 years and has been pretty good. Is 12th in FWAR. And, that would have made a big difference and still would. Teams
are better with Sonny Gray than they are without Sonny Gray.
Yeah, for sure. And Joe Ryan called it the biggest mistake the Twins have made since he got here. I thought, well, is anybody else feeling like this? So I stuck around for Byron Buxton and got him in a moment before the game on Sunday. And I said, well, do you think it's the biggest mistake that the team has made? And he's like, well, I don't know. But what did he say? I don't know if it's the biggest mistake, but I do know that I've been here for long enough. So I've seen a lot of things, Buxton said. if this is what you call a rebuild, this will be my third one since I've been here. So if you want to talk about mistakes, I've seen a lot of mistakes leading up to now. So lots of criticism from the Twins clubhouse. Now, I know that both of those guys are having great years. A lot of the other guys in the clubhouse aren't necessarily having good years. And Buxton's, conceding that the team is not, no matter what you think of what was brought in from the outside with Sonny Gray or whatever, the team hasn't played as well as everybody thinks it should have. So there's agency and responsibility there too. But he's like, we didn't win very many games last month. How many was it? 6, 7, 11? It's not enough. We had a chance to control our destiny last year too, and as a team, we just didn't play well enough. So I don't think that they're being these guys are being unrealistic about it. But Buxton's like, I want to see some action in the offseason. I don't want to, go through another rebuild that takes multiple years. He's going to turn 32 soon. It's great that he's having the best year of his career now, but he's got 3 years, I think, left on his contract. I don't know if he's going to play after that. It's this could be his last deal, and he could be done at 35 or 36 or whatever it is. And, he wants to win. I'm a Twin and I want to win. He literally said that today. So I just find it, he wasn't making any threats. Like, he's under contract. He's not leaving. Yeah. But he's not going to be happy if the Twins, go back on what they indicated they were going to do, and that's try to win. So these two guys have sent notice to the ownership, for whatever it's worth, that they're not going to be happy if the Twins don't dive back in and start adding players via free agency or trade or whatever. Buxton's like, the last couple off seasons have been awful quiet. I don't know any team that is a success that takes that time of the year off, but the Twins have been very quiet in the off season, and he's not going to stand for it. Now, maybe that just means he's going to be unhappy or throw a tantrum or whatever, but he said his piece.
Yeah, I can't see him throwing a tantrum, but I've stated many times that it would be entirely unfair to Buxton, who signed that deal. This is a sweetheart deal for the Twins. The fact that the Twins couldn't win with Buxton on a sweetheart deal, Royce Lewis on his rookie deal, and Carlos Correa on a drastically less sizable contract than he was going to get from either of the other two teams, the pieces were all there. It just didn't happen. But with that said, this is still a flawed and imperfect AL Central. This is still a Twins team that has enough pitching that if you add a couple bats and a couple relievers, I don't know if we said that on air, if I said that off the air, but frankly, they are not as far off as 63 and 80 feels. And with that said, if I put myself in Buck's shoes, and boy, are they fast shoes, I understand his skepticism of, well, why would I believe that they're going to go out and get a couple hitters to beef up this lineup? Because once Walker Jenkins gets up here, you feel pretty good about him and Warne having a bounce back. And they've got guys who can play. I still believe in Brooks Lee. I know people are starting to kind of have the leaves starting to fall off the Brooks Lee tree, but I believe they have enough talent when distributed in the right places with a couple of additions, a couple decent relievers. I think eventually your starting rotation shakes out to where you have a couple guys go there as well, and you're not relying on the Brooks Kriskis and Justin Topas to get late game outs. Topa, I think, could be a perfectly good 6th, 7th inning guy, but I still think they're in that arena. They don't need to go out and make another Correa-style move. Although if there's a shortstop out there that wants to play for them and sign a big deal, the shortstop would be just a fine spot for me. Granted, Culpepper's close. We'll see. But I really do believe that this team is closer than their record looks, and that it would be stupid to hit the reset button and entirely unfair to Byron Buxton. Yes, I realize I'm saying a multimillionaire who could buy and sell me before I'm even awake in the morning financially.
Even with Monarch money.
Yeah, exactly. That's unfair to you. Don't. It would be blatant disrespect to a guy who deserves better. To put it simply,
for sure, it would be unfair to fans too. The Twins are, it's been noted many times on Twitter and other places on social media how quickly the goodwill that the Twins had built up a couple years ago by making the playoffs has just been evaporated, or maybe more accurately strangled. With the recent crowds at Target Field, and I don't have any data on the on Twins TV, like how many people are watching. Maybe yes, well, me too. But maybe after the trade deadline, it sparked some kind of like more people were into watching us and listening to us right after the trade deadline to see what was the deal with the new stuff going on. But I don't know that has that much momentum anymore. Although I will say that, if you look at somebody like Luke Keyshaw, he's worth tuning in every night to watch. So, you
stole home today.
He did steal home. The Twins tried 2 double steals, and the second one was kind of short-circuited because Johnny Pareda was at bat, and he interfered with the catcher trying to make a throw. So
Trevor Plouffe hated that call, and I think I agree.
Yeah, Rocco wasn't sure. He's like, it's a judgment call by the umpire, and if he's standing right there, and if the catcher moves his way into the path of the swing, then he's free to call it. So Rocco will we know Rocco will shake that finger, and he'll get upset at umpires who screw up, but I don't know if he's just maybe a little bit resigned to what's going on, but he didn't.
Little catcher-on-catcher violence. You let these things sort themselves out, I guess.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit more about Rocco as it relates to what the stars of the Twins have said about the front office, and maybe take another look at what they have going for them, the Twins as a team for next year. So maybe this rebuild doesn't have to be so huge.
Well, we got a new one. This episode is brought to you by Zippix Toothpicks. That's Zippix. Whether you're looking for a nicotine satisfaction or just an energy boost, Zippix has you covered with their nicotine and caffeine-infused toothpicks. For nicotine users, Zippix provides a discreet way to satisfy cravings and the hand-to-mouth habit without vaping or smoking. Zippix can be a helpful tool as you work to reduce your dependence on vaping. It's available in 6 great flavors with 2 milligram and 3 milligram nicotine options. And if you need energy without the crash, their caffeine toothpicks are a game changer. The caffeine ones are the ones for me. And honestly, like peppermint watermelon ice, would not have imagined that would make sense. And I find myself, this is funny, I'll have it in my mouth and then I'll turn it around to try like extract as much flavor out of it, because that's how great the flavor is for these things. And
you're hooked, aren't you?
Yeah. Sorry, what?
You're hooked.
Yeah. Oh, I'm hooked. And it's not even the nicotine ones. But yeah, they showed up in my mailbox and I started using them right away. And I think, I don't know if I'm out or if they got taken from someone in my house, because I was trying to find some to show as a demonstration tonight. And lo and behold, I might need to order some more. But that's how good they are. Go to zippix.com and use the code LOCKEDON, and you'll get 10% off your first order. You must be 21 or older to order. Warning, nicotine is an addictive chemical. That's ZippixToothpicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Zip more, smoke less with Zippix Toothpicks.
Locked On Twins, home stretch, Sunday, September 7th. Twins winning, beat the Royals 5-1. Buxton hit a home run. Yeah, we didn't really talk about that.
Pablo looked good too.
Who's that?
Pablo in the
opener.
In the opener. We haven't talked since then either. I mean,
there's so much. It's a lot of for a team that's 63-80. A lot of stuff's going on. Yeah,
for tanking purposes, it was a good game.
Yeah, well, losing 2 out.
Again, I'm not advocating tanking, but I'm also realizing that there are ways to lose that are less damaging. Pitch well, but don't hit, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so just kind of to review the other details of the series briefly, Pablo Lopez made his return after 3 months away, 13 and a half weeks specifically, and he pitched fine. There was some hard contact. There was a couple of balls hit deep that the Royals were like, how did those go out? But they didn't. And
should have had the Yankee balls.
Yeah, right. I always wonder about that kind of thing when stuff like that happens. So Pablo was really happy with how he pitched, and he was relieved to get back. And he called it psychological warfare, being away for 13 and a half weeks, feeling like you're useless. And he said, maybe I'm overstating it a little bit, but it really did feel that way.
Did you see his buddy Fred was there?
Whose friend?
Pablo has a friend who's a security guard that he sits next to in the dugout named Fred Kozlowski, something like that. It's a very, I think, Polish sounding name. Slavic. And they sit together. And so he was actually at the game. The camera found him, and he was in his Twins gear drinking a beer. And the guys, Plouffe and Provis, were like, hey, good for him, man. Getting to a ball game where he's not working so he can enjoy a beer.
Pablo is said that he's doing a fantasy football team this year for the first time. He knows absolutely nothing about fantasy football. He is the silent money partner behind Mitch Hestad, who is in the
Love
public
Mitch.
relations
Good guy.
And Mitch is the director of football operations, Pablo said, and Pablo is the owner. And all he asked for was to pick the Patriots kicker. I didn't look up his name, but he's from Venezuela. So that's why Pablo wanted it.
Not Gostowski anymore.
No, that's the security
years
guard,
ago. Yeah.
So that was funny. So he's like, all I want is to have this kicker, and I want you to pick him in the first round. And Mitch was like, I'm not doing this if you want me to pick a kicker in the first round.
We did a family league, and it was an auction, and my mother-in-law doesn't know anything about football, and she drafted 3 kickers. So
3?
Yeah. She's like, it's so fun to win these auctions. And it's like, well, yeah, because you're bidding $3 on Blair Walsh. This was probably 10 years ago, but nobody wants to spend that much money on a kicker.
Mitch was happy because he ended up getting the Patriots kicker, the Venezuelan, in the last round. So I'm like, Pablo, that's good. That's good value. That's what we call good value. So he's like, I'm learning. So he's looking forward to the season, but he's going to let
Andres Borregales.
That's right, Borregales. Sounds soccerish. In Venezuela, Pablo said there's not much football that goes on. There's some rugby.
Americano.
Yeah, but there's rugby is becoming popular, but football not so much. So and also Ryan Jeffers, the concussion business has been lingering. He got hit in the head twice with foul tips, once in the mask and once on the side, kind of up here. I'm pointing to the left side of my head if you're listening on your podcast radio. Retroactive to Friday, they finally put him on the IL, the concussion IL on Sunday. They were hopeful that he would get better. It seems like if a concussion can be mild, it's mild. So they say that he has not had one before, so that's good. And
especially,
I don't. It's not that I think they're lying, but when you tell me that a major league catcher has never had a concussion before, the first thing that pops into my head is that's impossible. But
it's like a quarterback.
People's heads are different, and 2 heads are better than 1, and something. But so maybe it isn't impossible. It just seems unlikely. But Jeffers is going to take a few more days, and Johnny Pereda has been really good so far, actually, coming up, a 29-year-old with a little major league experience, but he was Pablo's catcher for a couple times in the rehab at AAA, and he's gotten on base a few times, and he's picked the guy off, second base.
Looks good behind the plate, I think. Like eye test. I don't know what the data would say, but
yeah,
he looks like someone who could be the backup catcher next year.
Yes. Speaking of which, Christian Vazquez is progressing and might be back soon. He had an infection in his arm that was really scary. It was like a staph infection, Nick Paparesta said. He had a cut, and then like the next day it moved up his arm, and you couldn't see it, but he's like, I can't move my arm. I think I slept on it funny. And they looked into it, and it was an infection that they eventually needed surgery to remove. That's frightening as heck. That sounds like a John Carpenter movie.
Yeah, or like pitcher's getting a blood clot, like Mark Guthrie back in the day, where it was like, could have ended your career.
Right.
Well, blood clot's a lot scarier than that.
I wanted to say one more thing about Buxton and Ryan's comments. This is maybe a little inside baseball-y, but Phil broke the story after asking Rocco without mentioning Ryan. Hey, there's a talk going around that if Sonny Gray had been here, things might have been different. And Rocco's response was, that is not a really healthy attitude to have. It's not a good way to deal with, this hypothetical thing. I'm not into that. I'm never going to be into that. I'm not going to pay it any mind. So for those out there who think Joe Ryan was full of beans, or, Rocco didn't know that he was talking about Joe Ryan, I think, when he said that, but there's some credence to that he was maybe overreacting and making a lot of assumptions by saying that everything would have been different with Sonny Gray. So,
well, and I think too, if Rocco and him sat down and talked about it, they'd probably come to an agreement. They seem like two actually fairly similar souls, personally. But yeah, I think you can reach that stage of like not grief, but processing of change. That a year and a half later, you're like, yeah, this is how I think it would have worked. I think what Rocco's saying too is like, if you're making that like your everyday thought process, man, we wouldn't be here if we had just signed Sonny Gray. You know what I mean? Like, I think if Joe has processed it all and is just now finally like saying it out loud, that's not that terrible. But I agree with Rocco too, that what if game is not particularly helpful when baseball is a game of a lot of what ifs. It's a game of a lot of failure. And if you dwell on those failures, if you're looking forward, or if you're looking back, you're not looking forward. And that's a big problem in the game of baseball.
I just don't want, you mentioned how it's not fair to Buxton, a long rebuild and that sort of dancing around. Are we solo team? Are we not? Is the payroll up, payroll down? He hit his 30th home run. He's got 21 stolen bases. He's the first 30-20 guy, which isn't exactly a thing, but no one's ever been a 30-30 guy for the Twins, except 30-20 Kirby Puckett was in 1986. So Buxton.
Hey, the year I was born.
Oh, that happened too.
Yeah.
Buxton was very touched by the fact that Puckett, a Twins legend, and he are the only two people in this category. It's a little bit of a cherry pick thing, but no one's ever been 30-30 for the Twins, but now they got two 30-20 guys. So it's just at 31 years old and a half, Buxton being the best version of himself. Maybe he will be throughout his 30s, like Paul Molitor said he could be. I just echo what you said about, I hope they give him a chance to win some games too, more than that one 2023 season. So
I love that Paul Molitor said that out loud, and he said it to me. Like, I don't know. That just I don't have any like self delusions of my value in the media space, but I was glad that he said that, and I can relay that because it's a very good point.
Buxton said today that he remembers that conversation, and it really gave him some confidence that, if he can do it, maybe I can too, and I'm not just wasting my time here trying to be healthy and play ball. So
any baseball person who spends even a minute next to Paul Molitor comes away a better baseball person.
Well, I hope you all became better baseball people today for listening to this podcast. We want to thank you for making Locked On your first listen every day. Or, I guess it would be the first by the time this gets out. For your second listen, listen to Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. This has been a fun episode. I'm exhausted. From my friend Brandon Warne, this is Dave Brown wishing you all a very pleasant good evening. Saying we will elect to see ya tomorrow night. Yeah. Feed those ducks. Feed those ducks. Byron Buxton.